Hey, Jeremy, what's your goal for parenting?
Let's see. It's Tuesday, so my goal would be get through dinner without the kids complaining, or possibly just one out of the four not complaining about dinner. And then I'd like to get through homework in, I don't know, less than 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe by the end of the night, I only have to ask them to brush their teeth maybe 3 times before bed. And then just the goal is just to get to that quiet somber of the end of the evening where it's just me and my wife. We could talk about how tough it is to parent. That seems to be my goal for Tuesday.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about that.
We probably should. Hi, I'm Jeremy, and this is Scott Vermillion. And today we're starting a new series in our family venture class called Phases, and it's talking about what the goal of parenting is. And so I'm really excited about this because it speaks to every different element of parenting. And but I love the overview that you set up. So tell us a little bit about what we're setting up and what we're constructing in this class.
Well, Jeremy, I think you said it really well. I could have said what my Tuesday goal is exactly yours, right? And I think we can get short-sighted, when it comes to parenting. And we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg all the time, right?
Yeah.
We're always trying to figure out how to just get through the day,
Yes.
this moment, this meal, brushing teeth,
One of my favorite comments of this class was, the days are long, but the years are short.
Yes.
And so I always keep that in mind, but it never seems to stop me from getting wrapped up in the moment.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful that this class could really make me think of things from a different viewpoint.
Yeah. And I've been challenged by this recently. I've been thinking that parenting is a lot like baking a cake.
Okay.
And that we have to be good bakers. And I'm not necessarily a good baker. I don't necessarily follow directions when I cook. It's like whatever I find in the kitchen, I throw it in there, and hopefully it tastes good.
Whenever you said baking, I thought you meant just going to the store and buy cookies.
Oh yeah, no. You're actually putting ingredients.
Baking.
Yes,
Okay, yes.
And this is not store-bought. This is stuff that we have to put in. And if you think about parenting as a goal, as a 3-layer cake, that hopefully by the time our kids are 18, they're gonna be able to celebrate and eat this cake to the fullest, right?
Yeah.
And it will have every ingredient needed. It starts off by really helping our kids know that they are formed in the image of God. I think that a lot goes wrong when you don't know your foundation.
Right. No. And I would say that, whenever we know that we're formed in the image of God, that confidence that comes from that, especially if you're talking about tweens and teens, knowing how they're created and who they're created by and who they are, it helps not only emotionally but physically,
right? Because
you're in so many different weird stages. So that, I think, is such a beautiful context of where their foundation should be. And so I'm super excited to hear more about what that's going to look like.
Because I think when you know your value, there's you look at the world differently.
Yeah.
Even as adults, when you know you're valuable to your company or valuable in your family or valuable extended family, friends, the same applies. And when we know we're valuable to our Creator,
yes.
it makes middle school possible. You can get through it.
It's funny because all the examples you gave are titles that we have, like we are the father, or we are the mother, or we're at work and we create titles or whatever. We have value from those groups.
Right.
But whenever you're a middle schooler, it is tough to put your finger on, this is my value.
Right.
So to be valued and loved by the Lord and know that fundamentally, man, that's something adults could use.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I love the fact that we're going to talk about what are parenting strategies to give them that confidence.
Yeah.
And so that sounds wonderful.
So that's the base. So knowing that you're created in the image of God, and then the second layer of the cake that we're trying to bake here is that we would give people their purpose. Our children should know that the response to being created in God's image is to then love God and love others. When you look in the world and you see, well, gosh, if I'm valued this much by God, I ought to love him back.
Yeah.
And then by the same token, if God created everybody else in his image, then we ought to love them in the same way God loves them. And so it really does spur us on to a purpose which I think, when Jesus was asked, was the
Greatest commandment.
greatest commandment. He threw out, love God and
Love
all your
others.
heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then love others as yourself.
As you love yourself. And I almost want to say that first layer of the cake that we described is loving yourself, knowing who you're created
Yeah,
in. And once you get to that point, you're right, the second layer becomes a lot more easy to consume, which is loving Him and loving others as yourself. So that's those are 2 layers. Those are great layers.
Yeah.
What's that third layer of the cake?
The third layer of the cake is trusting in Jesus for a better future. You know, I think that if we don't understand that that we're going to fail in loving God and loving others, you know, if we don't help our children know that's the purpose, that's what we're trying to do, but we're also going to do it imperfectly.
Oh, yeah.
And if we don't have a trust in Jesus that He's going to transform us, that He's going to give us grace, that He's got a good story that He's telling in us, even despite our failings or despite the circumstances that we find ourselves in, then I think they're doomed by this great weight of everything they should do, but can't live up to.
Oh, yeah. You know, I can imagine, especially for someone who's a perfectionist.
Yeah, I don't know who that would be.
I don't know. Just, you know, randomly, if there happened to be one out there in the audience. But I can imagine that level of grace that you live with that because, you know, you're constantly going to be work in project on the first 2 layers. It always is going to feel like that. And so giving people an understanding of what grace is and giving our kids to live with that grace and to be able to function within that.
Right.
Man, those are powerful things.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited because I think I'm going to send this to my parents. Let's see if we can do this again.
Exactly. How about help me with your grandchildren now? You know, that's what we would rally around that.
Or just give me some of that.
Yes,
Let's do that. So I think this is going to be a fantastic way to really kind of come together and look at some of the best practices we can put in place to build these layers in the cake effectively and to do so with purpose.
Right.
Because it's not just about getting through a Tuesday, it's about what can we do to set them up so we could launch them as capable humans in the market, you know, come 18 years old.
Exactly.
And how to deal with life.
Yep.
And these are all things that, you know, if you do them well, you really have a sense of joy and a sense of peace that come with these things. And those aren't easy to instill.
No, and I think that the beautiful thing about this whole project of having such a big, audacious goal for our parenting is that it doesn't happen in the moment.
Right.
It happens over time. And so the more we can layer these layers into their life throughout the seasons, if you blow it in a day, I get it. You know, that happens. But over a week's time, this is going to come out, you know, if we're focused on it, if we're keeping it in mind. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to do it, you know, in weeks coming.
That's exciting. I think the intentionality we bring with this and thinking about it, the conversation is one thing that just helps me and my wife to say, okay, what are we trying to do here? And, you know, kind of what's our end goal for this? Yeah. And sometimes the end goal is just getting to sleep. But sometimes it's like, oh, well, it won't be long before we're driving them off to college.
Yes.
So let's make this work.
Yeah, excellent. Well, if you've got ways in which you're layering these foundations in your kids' lives, we'd love to hear, you know, what are the practices that you're doing that are getting it out there, because we can all learn from that. So thanks.
And if you're baking a cake, feel free to bring it to class.
That's right. Bring it by. Yeah. We'll have that visual example and taste it as well.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Thank you. Take care, guys.